Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Hey, I've got a question for you today. What is your first memory about money? Have you really ever slowed down to stop and think about that? So much of the assumptions we operate from are subconscious or come from our unconscious beliefs about the world. And a lot of these beliefs and assumptions are formed when we're really young, maybe even pre-linguistic, and they then ripple out into our thoughts and our behaviors, and therefore our results or our actions and how we see ourselves in the world and how we even see our world, actually. You've probably heard that famous quote that we don't see the world as it is, but you see the world as you are. So today we are going to go deep into some of these ideas that we hold about money. And you might be wondering, what does money have to do with yoga or spiritual practice? But your financial health is a part of your spiritual practice, very much so. Money, yes, does make the world go round. And if you want to be able to drive your car to the yoga class or listen to a podcast or do anything, it requires that energy that we call money to fuel it, right? We need to be able to afford to do the things that we want to do, to have the lifestyle we want to have, but also to invest in the people, the projects, the charities, all of the things that we are here to do on this planet. And money is just a form of this energy or this prana that comes to us and moves through us. And so today I'm offering a little bit of an excerpt from a conversation that I had with Danielle Leigh. Danielle Leigh is a business coach and strategist who helps women grow their business and build a life that they love. And she invited me into her mastermind group. It's a group of entrepreneurs and women who are all focused on building their business to talk about money and the energy behind money and what is the energetic imprint of money and how can we work with some of these subconscious beliefs or feelings around money to help clear them, to help change our mindset, and to create more clean actions and clean connections, clean relationship around building our business and how we're handling our financial health and our financial wealth. And so I wanted to share this conversation with you because I feel like there was a lot of value in it and it's a bit of a coaching conversation. So I go into a coaching process with Danielle. And I hope that as we're going through this coaching process, you can use what's there to really help serve you as well. You know, often what we think when we're very young through childhood memories, I can give you an example. I had one memory as I was probably under the age of 3. My mother got pulled over by a police officer for speeding or going slightly over the speed limit in a school zone. And he was writing her a ticket and she was very upset, crying and saying, "We don't have enough money to buy milk." And it was a very emotional memory. It's something my mother even remembers to this day. But as a 3-year-old, I was also very, very upset. My mother's crying. It's all because of this police officer. He's so mean. That's a whole other conversation around authority figures. It might explain my personality. But also, money is the problem. Are we going to have enough to eat? We're not going to have enough to eat. Money's scary. We don't have enough money. And this then imprints on me, not just on an emotional level or not even really on a mental level, but in a deep somatic way. It imprinted onto the way that I related to income and finances and money from my nervous system, from my body. from my being. And that energetic imprint really ran my life for a long time. Money is scary. I'll never have enough of it. Even when I had enough of it, it was never enough. Because also, maybe I'm not enough either. If I'm never going to have enough of it, why is that? Well, obviously, the problem is me. I'm not enough. And so behind the scenes, there's a story or an imprint. And it might not be conscious. It probably isn't conscious, because once you can bring it up into your conscious awareness and see it, you can start to dissolve it. You can start to question it. You can start to work with it. But so many of these energetic charges that we have in our body, that we're holding in our mind, in our nervous system, in our unconscious beliefs, run the show, and they play out, and they then prevent us from showing up in our lives in the way that we're here to really do, to truly own our worth, to truly step in to a bigger vision for ourselves, to stop playing small or playing safe. But we can't stop playing small and playing safe until we understand that we truly are safe. We can't claim our inherent worth until we truly feel into our body at a very deep cellular level how truly worthy, inherently worthy we are. And so everything really started to shift for me around this. Actually, years ago, early on in my yogic journey, when I met someone who was also a spiritual practitioner, very, very much deeply into the pranayama practice. He is one of the top devotees or students of my pranayama teacher, Sri O.T. Tiwari, and he was a multimillionaire. He had 2 homes, an apartment in New York and a beautiful home in upstate New York in a Woodstock area, and he was a hedge fund manager. And he said something to me that I will never forget, which is money is just another form of prana. Money is energy, and it's energy that is in motion, which is why it often evokes emotion, but it's here to move through us like a current. That's why it's called currency. It has no inherent value in and of itself. It only has the value we assign to it. And that blew my mind, because as he was explaining this to me, he said, when you grow your prana, money naturally comes to you. As you step into your inherent worth, as you are able to hold more energetically, more financial wealth naturally will just come to you. And it was really taking all of these principles and ideas and philosophies of spirituality and yoga and metaphysics and energy and applying them to finances and to a financial realm, and looking at money as just another form of energy, and that it's there to be transmuted. It's there to be transformed like alchemy. We take it in one form and transform it into another. Was incredible shift in my awareness of what money was. And that started a big journey of looking at what value I was giving money, but also what value I was connecting myself with. And I think that's the deeper, more important message, is that often we attach our self-worth to our net worth. And if our net worth isn't where we think it should be or we want it to be, we think we are not good enough or we are undeserving because we've attached our inherent worth to some external source or value that's outside of us. And so we need to reverse that. We need to do the inner work first and start going deep into the unconscious and the subconscious and tapping into who we truly are, but in a way where we're not just spiritually bypassing the shadow side of ourself or these little gremlins or little mini monsters, that are still there within us, whether we want to see them and do the work to see them, or we choose not to. They're still there running the show, often underneath the surface. Or we can slow down and be with the shadow side of ourselves and sit with it and love it and hold it with compassion and start to question some of these irrational, often, beliefs that we're operating from, and start to rewire our nervous system to hold safety, to feel safe, to hold more energy, more prana, and to hold more wealth, realizing that we are truly worthy of everything our heart desires, releasing some of the fear, the guilt, the shame around receiving or around our ability to give. And so changing how we're showing up in the world rather than showing up from a place of scarcity and scarcity conditioning, which is so prevalent in our world, in every realm, in every area of life, right? We're trained to compete because resources are scarce. Shifting that into an embodied abundance, not just with affirmations, not just with asanas, not just with spiritual practice or meditation, but with a deep inner rewiring of our bodies, somatically, our energy field, mental, emotional, spiritual, soul, ancestral, going into the ancestral layer of ourselves and the energy of ourselves, and healing some of this money trauma and real money wounds that we carry with us, whether they're ours or they belong to our lineage, doing that work here in our own bodies. We're here embodied to do this work. And so being able to have the privilege of doing this work is our duty. And so whether you're a healer, a creative, or an entrepreneur, or whether you're just waking up to your own power, your own inherent self-worth, this episode is going to give you both the permission and the practices to reclaim your value and to see your true value. Not someday, but right now, right here in this moment, because your worth is never up for debate. You are priceless. And it's not about the numbers. It's not about how much is in your bank account. It's really about dropping in to the essence of who you truly are, and you are a miracle. So let's get into it.
I love, Harmony, that you have such a holistic approach to business. You think about, like you said, all the relationships and the connections, and it feels like there is a lot to unpack when it comes to the topic of money, right? Yeah. Obviously, when we are talking about growing and scaling a business, money comes up often. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we are carrying beliefs around with us that relate to money. And sometimes it does get in our way, right? It can block us. But if we are new to this world, Harmony, if we are maybe just now kind of understanding a little bit more about money mindset, and maybe we're becoming a little bit more aware of how that impacts us as business owners, especially women in business. Yeah. How can we even get started to try to identify and unpack what some of these beliefs are around money that we may be carrying with us?
So that's such a great question. I mean, there's a few different practices you can do. You can start writing out all of the beliefs or thoughts or anything that comes up around money. So money is, and then just write down whatever starts to come into your mind. So you start to get out all of those beliefs onto a piece of paper, just free writing. You know, money is love. Money is the root of all evil. Money is the source of suffering. Money is freedom. Money is, right? We have all these different thoughts and beliefs around money. And so really starting to put them outside of our unconscious mind or subconscious mind onto a piece of paper where we can really look at them and see them and then start to question them is really, really helpful. And one of the biggest blocks I see, especially with women and spiritual entrepreneurs or, you know, heart-centered entrepreneurs, is that they're equating their ability to make money with their self-worth. And so they feel like they're selling themselves or they're putting themselves out there for sale. And they say, oh, I don't want to have to ask for money. And I say, well, when you get a haircut, are the hairdresser asking you for money? Mm-hmm. No, right? She's providing a service or he's providing a service, and that service costs a certain amount. Your services have a price, but you are priceless. You're not selling yourself. You're not selling your soul. You know, you maintain your sense of worthiness. And that has nothing to do with whether someone says yes or no to the price of your services. And so I think there's that block that starts to come up. That's one of the biggest blocks. And then also doubting the value of what you're offering. So, especially in the coaching world, I think it's really challenging for entrepreneurs to sometimes understand the value that they bring to someone's life. And so, again, this is a nice, juicy belief to start working with, right? And looking at.
Yes.
Yeah, and also looking at where you yourself have benefited from coaching. That's why it's so important, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, to have coaches, to work with people, to value the service that you yourself are offering.
Yes, that's so important. And I think that is true, Harmony. And I think that's a little bit difficult to unpack for. So, a lot of people that we work with, like creative entrepreneurs, all women, especially those who provide creative services, when you are the entrepreneur, when it is your business, it can feel very personal, especially as we're building visibility online
Yeah.
or we are networking and showing up in person to try to create these relationships. It can feel very personal. So I think that distinction, kind of pulling apart your services, what you offer from you as a business owner and your value or your identity is a really important distinction. That is so helpful. What are some of the other common beliefs or blocks that you see when it comes to women in business?
Yeah, I mean, there's something really interesting that's in our DNA, I think, as women, that is really below the surface, that isn't just in our mindset. And it's also, I think, common for most women, which is like up until fairly recently, like the late 1970s, women could not get a credit card without it being co signed by either her father or her husband, which is not that long ago,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And so, really, women have been property. Women's bodies were property. We were currency. And so, there's never actually been a world where women have had as much money as men. And we're starting to get there now. I think about 40% right now of the world's wealth is held by women. And they're estimating in the next 5 years that it'll be 50-50. And
Mm,
so changing our own relationship with money is key, but that also requires really understanding what happens when women have money and feeling confident in your abilities to manage money and be with money. And there's been so much interesting science done recently around the fact that when women have money, when they are in fact able to make and use their own money, they invest in communities, they invest in education, they invest in healthcare, they invest in their children, in the future generation. They support positive projects that help people around the planet. And so as the tide rises, all ships rise. It benefits everyone to have women making money. And this actually happens more so with women than with men. And
mm,
there's also some interesting science around women's relationship with money in that women get a dopamine hit. So we release dopamine, which is the chemical inside of our brains that is like when you win at something, right? So it's like the feel good chemical. I won, I did a good thing, or I got that award, or right? It's our achievement kind of chemical. And women release dopamine when we give money away,
that's
and
interesting.
men release dopamine when they keep money. And so it's interesting, what happens is I think there's something kind of metaphysical even about us being currency. And when you look at yoga philosophy, there's this idea that the feminine aspect of creation is a part of the earth, is a part of this world, is a part of material wealth. And so I think when women enter this flow, we tend to move the currency with
Mm,
more abundance. But also, there's an unconscious fear because in the past, we've literally not had that power. And if we did have that power, it's been very threatening, even life threatening.
that is super interesting. So I think there is part of this, right, that we can't deny is being socialized. part of that is sort of the system around us and some of the beliefs that we've inherited from being in that system. And also part of that is what we want for our communities, for our families, for ourselves in business, right? And I think that's a really important distinction because I think it's important for us to pull apart maybe where some of these beliefs are coming from and where we've inherited some of the thoughts. And then for us to be able to accept what we want to keep with us, which beliefs around money are serving us that we want to carry forward, and maybe which we're ready to release. So, how do you help people with that process, Harmony? So, let's say we've got our big list of like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the thoughts and beliefs we're holding around money. And let's say we're a little surprised by some of those, maybe that surfaced, right? We realize they aren't really helpful and they aren't serving us. What does that look like to let go of some of those limiting beliefs, especially if we're now just becoming aware of them?
Yeah. So I think some of the way that I typically work with people and the way that I've also gone through this process myself, not like really realizing how much money trauma was stored in
Yeah.
my own body. I
Yes.
grew up in a lower middle class family. I witnessed my mother like sobbing over not having enough money, telling a police officer getting a speeding ticket, like, I don't even have money to buy milk. I can't afford this ticket, at a very, very young age. And so, like, having that fear and that relationship with money that it actually causes people suffering, right?
Yes. Yes.
But how do you get to that? How do you start to like understand what are these deeper unconscious beliefs? So there's a couple things that I think are kind of fun exercises that we could do.
Okay.
So if you just close your eyes and imagine that you're in a room and you're just hanging out like at a party and there's all different kinds of people around. And then someone walks into the room and this person is the embodiment of money. How does your body respond? What do you see yourself doing?
You want me to answer?
Yeah.
For me, I think it does have a couple of different layers to it. Number one, I identify like this intimidation factor, like
Yeah.
those who have it versus those who don't, right? Growing up, I have some similar things to you, Harmony, too, with like always comparison to the families who do have versus
Yeah.
those who don't. There's like a little bit of a shame or maybe, yeah, almost like an intimidation. It almost
Yeah.
seems like a dividing line, right? Between the room. And then I think there also is for me a little bit of like a pull toward it, like a desire, because I think that means, like you were saying earlier, like the freedom, the success, right? That connotation of what money could mean in terms of your business, right? And wanting or desiring the success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so interesting that experiment because you can feel it kind of in yourself. Like maybe there's
Yes.
sort of like a shyness that happens, like where your body's sort of actually, "Oh,"
Yeah.
but also like an attraction, like, oh, I kind of want, but oh, I don't know. Right. Some women, like one woman said, I'm going to go run and hide behind the couch. you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, someone else like, "I'm gonna run up and French kiss it," so so there's, like, different reactions, and more you kind of work with that somatic response in your body, you're gonna start to help heal some of these unconscious beliefs. But
Yeah.
so say you identify, like, "Oh, there's maybe this sense of, like, I kind of am interested, but I'm kind of afraid," and we've
Yeah.
listed out all these different beliefs. And
Yeah.
so what would be one belief that you feel kind of there's a charge around? And it can be positive or negative.
I think one of the most charged ones is sort of the have not thought, like the haves versus have nots.
Yeah, like I'll never have enough or I'll never have this the amount of other people or what?
Yeah, or
That
almost like a divide, like I'm not one of them, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, like belonging, like
yeah,
I identify more with the have-nots than the haves, almost like lesser than.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So maybe the belief is I'll never have enough money to be included
Mm, okay.
or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
tell me what resonates for you.
Okay. So that sparks something because, yeah, I think there is like a desire for abundance. There's like a desire for financial success, yet feeling like that's still far off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll only be included when I'm successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like a desire for that, and that group is still different. I'm not included. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. I won't be included or I won't have enough till I'm included. It's hard to have enough to be included.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So then just like tune into that belief in your body and just start to notice as you're dropping into your body and you're hearing that belief or feeling those feelings of like, oh, I'm never going to have enough so that I'm included, so that I'm part of that group, the haves. I'm always kind of in this lower class of struggling. And just notice how your body responds and how you feel that in your body.
Yeah, it feels like withdraw, like you said, shying away. Yeah, it feels like shrinking. It feels like smaller, heavier. Yeah.
And
Yes.
then when you're feeling that way, when you're in that belief, how then do you act within like your own life or with your clients?
Yeah, I would say much more reserved,
Hmm.
more shy.
Yeah.
It's not like showing up in power or stepping into confidence. It feels smaller, smaller.
So you're
Yeah,
showing up smaller, you're like holding back, more reserved, you're not showing up in your fullness.
definitely.
Yeah. And what are the impacts of that for you?
Well, then I think there's limitations around the impact
Yeah.
that I can make in my work. I think there's like hesitation to even be put in rooms where I could serve or help. Yeah, it just feels small, small.
Yeah. Okay, so then like tune back in and let's just see if we can erase that. So just take like a whiteboard eraser and erase the belief, erase it completely so it's just a blank board. It doesn't exist anymore. So you don't have that feeling, you don't have that belief. And tune into your body and just notice when you don't have that belief at all. It doesn't even exist. Those words can't even form connections. How does it feel for you?
Yeah, that feels light. That feels like freeing. That feels expansive. Like the visual of a whiteboard just being completely blank. That feels freeing.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at this belief. So let's say the belief was, I'll never have enough to be included.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's turn it around and just find some examples. I have more than enough to be included.
Mm.
How is that true for you?
Ooh, okay. I love that. The first thing that comes to me when you say I have more than enough, I actually don't think in terms of finance anymore.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like knowledge, like value.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like warmth or connection,
Yeah.
the support, like cheering others on. I feel super abundant with all those things.
Yeah.
And you know what's coming up for me now is so that belief for me, I think, is rooted in growing up. My family was comfortable. I had a very small home growing up. We had, modest things. It wasn't anything excessive. And I was in a community that had a lot of affluence.
Hmm.
And so I was constantly surrounded by other families or like being invited over to other homes that felt like 4 times bigger than the one I grew
Yeah.
up in. I have early memories, like middle school age, of other women asking me at that age, the girls asking me, like, where are your clothes from?
Yeah.
And they were off brand. I didn't have like the fancy labels. We didn't drive fancy cars. So like that status felt like again, like it wasn't inclusive. I didn't feel like a whole sense of belonging in terms of finance in my community. Like now, when you're getting me to reflect on these things and going through that visual with like the whiteboard, it's actually making me question or reevaluate. But like, is that true now? That's how I've felt. That's sort of like what I've been conditioned to believe. But like, I feel fortunate that we're comfortable now. Like we're able to do things we want to do now. It feels a little bit more secure.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily identify with like an ultra affluent group. And I don't really feel like that's what I'm striving for either. Like when you're getting me to really consciously reflect on these things, I feel like it's like comfort. I feel like it's security around finance. And when you said the words, we have enough, I feel that now. Like we have enough. And then when you're asking me to think about where I do feel
Yeah.
abundance and I'm looking at other sources that aren't only finance, there's a lot of different measures of success that are coming up for me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing, I mean, you have, you know, your experience, you already are included and have community. I'm hearing that, there's that value component of what you're bringing to a group. And also that you're noticing that this is probably a really old belief that's no longer even true.
Yes, but like a deep one. I feel like this is gonna take some work, Harmony.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can also kind of turn it and reflect on it like, I don't need any more to be included. And when you hear that, like, I actually don't need to have more to be included. How is
Yeah.
that true for you?
So you know what that makes me think of is looking at the connections and community around me now.
Hmm.
I feel way more fulfilled, way more content, way more included than I ever would have imagined. I don't feel like I'm lacking. I don't feel like I'm excluded from any other groups. I feel super connected to those who are right around me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Another example of how it's no longer true for you.
So that is
Yeah.
true. That's so powerful.
And then
Yeah.
we can also flip it to say other people or these groups need to have more for me to want to be included.
Hmm.
And how would that be true for you now?
Okay. So, what comes up for me there is more about their desire to include others.
Hmm.
Like the ones who are maybe feeling like they're too good. I don't really want to be in community with those people anyway. Like I'm really not craving that acceptance the way maybe my middle school self was.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I just think about the community around me, if I think about that feeling of inclusion, I feel more than abundant
Yeah.
with the people who value inclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can just like play with the word. They're the same words. It's just changing the direction that we're looking at them from.
Yes.
And then looking for examples, real examples of how that's actually true.
Yeah. Could we do another one, Harmony?
Sure. Let's
Another
do
one?
another
Okay.
one.
Okay. So you and I may have to get a little creative because a belief that I hear
Yes.
all the time is I'm not good with money.
Yeah.
I'm not good with money, or I haven't been taught to manage money.
Yeah.
Very connected. This inherent belief that like somehow the financial information, education existed, but I didn't have access to that. I wasn't aware of it, right? And so now when we are stepping into the leadership role, owning our own business,
Yeah.
that belief can have a very strong impact on how we show up in our business every day.
Yes.
So can we play with that one?
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about that one just a little bit and then we're
Yeah.
going to let's
Okay.
look at it and turn it
Okay.
around because that one really shows us how our nervous system can be quite dysregulated around money and finances, right? And some of the patterns and
some of these beliefs that are deeply ingrained, like feeling like we missed out on understanding money. And I mean, that's not actually our fault because it's not really a skill that gets taught in schools. So unless you've had parents or grandparents who have, really sat down and helped you, actually nobody really knows how to do this, unless you had that kind of support or maybe did a degree in finance at university or a business degree or something, right? Which most of us didn't do, especially as female entrepreneurs or coaches. It's very likely that this is our first encounter with owning a business and having money and making money and what to do with it, right?
Yes, totally. Yes.
And so it can feel very dysregulating. And so the symptoms, which I think will be helpful for people, especially if they're looking at finances and money and their relationship to it, to show, if there are some of these unconscious beliefs or even conscious ones
Right.
that keep coming up. And it's the things that we do tell ourselves, or these are signs that maybe there's something underneath. Like when you avoid looking at the number, right?
Yes.
There's a pattern of dysregulation happening, some unconscious feeling in your body, in your nervous system, in your belief system that's preventing you from taking that confident step or that courage to really look at your numbers. Maybe not opening mail or, not wanting to like make financial meetings. Like you don't want to make a meeting with a banker or you're not wanting to talk about this, right? Feeling overwhelmed, running all over the place, just trying to make money, like doing 5 different jobs and having a side hustle and like network marketing and like, you know, overspending is also another sign that this might not be that your nervous system isn't regulated around finances. And that can also lead to that belief of like, I'm not good with money,
Mhm.
right? Also, that belief will encourage the overspending because we're always trying to prove ourselves right. And so if you really deeply believe I'm not good with money, then of course you're going to overspend
Yes.
because it's safe to be right, even if those actions aren't keeping you safe.
Wow.
Yeah. So then also like, so that could be like compulsive shopping. It could just be feeling anxiety around money. It could also be the opposite of that, which is like hoarding money, trying to save, 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 and never spending it. And especially not spending it on anything that's like fun or pleasurable. Like you're
Mhm.
just saving and paying bills and like, living like a, you know, in poverty, you know, even though you have tons of money stored away. Again,
Yes.
that's another sign, right? And also could be fueled by that belief I'm not good with money.
Mm.
And then over functioning, overworking, procrastinating around anything that has to do with money, also blocking sale. So the way you show up when you're in a sales conversation with someone, if you're showing up with full belief that your client's there because they want to pay you and they want your support and they want your services, and you believe in your services and you can help them, you show up in a conversation very differently than if you have this self-sabotaging kind of belief like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm not good with money, or it's scary to receive money. And I don't know, am I gonna, mine was always like, oh, I'm gonna create deep trauma or deep suffering for people by taking their money,
Mhm.
right? Which goes all the way back to being 3 years old in the car.
Mhm.
And so it's like recognizing like where you're in someone else's money story and you don't need to be, right? It's not my business how other people spend their money. But
Mhm.
often as women, we tend to do that, right? We kind of create this extension of ourselves into other people's financial situations or bank accounts. And then we're like, oh, but I don't want, should they be spending their money on this service? And am I worth it? And right, it all gets tied up into our worth
Yeah.
and how they're spending their money. But that's also about am I worthy to receive, right? So doing some work around being able to receive the money too and having it be safe to receive money
Hmm.
can also be a thing. If they pay me for my services or pay me for my offering, well, now I'm indebted to them. Now I have to serve them. That again goes back into our belief in ourselves. Like, can I do this work? Can I show up for the client? So there's a lot, like it's really tied into a lot of self-worth work because
Yes.
even that belief, I'm not good with money, is really about our self-worth and the
Wow.
judgments we're holding against ourselves.
Yes. And I think those patterns come up again and again and again for us, right? So if we are becoming more aware of this now,
Yeah.
and if some of the examples that you just shared, we're like, yep, that's me.
Yeah.
How can we work to, first step is just identifying them, right? But now how can we work to rewire some of those?
Yeah. So this is where I think it's really helpful to have a good self-care practice or somatic practice, something that is working also with the body and the unconscious beliefs. Often what happens when we think I'm not good with money, then we start looking for like, well, what do I have to do?
Mm.
Right? And we're trying to look for like what we need to do. But we have to go actually like a little bit deeper and start looking at like, who do I need to be?
Yes.
Right? Because who we are is going to determine what we do.
Mm.
And so we can look at that like, I'm not good with money. And again, we can, we could question it. We could say, is it really true? Do we know 100% that it's true? Probably there's times we've been good with money. Assuming we're all here on Zoom, we obviously can pay for a monthly subscription and, you know, have internet and a home probably, or at least a phone or a computer to so we must be somewhat good with money, right? Yeah. So we can't know 100% that it's true, that belief, but maybe we're feeling it, right? So then we can do that same work of looking at how does it make me feel when I believe that? And how
Yeah.
do I feel it in my body? And how do I show up? And what are some of those patterns that it ignites or that it sparks within ourselves?
Mhm. Yes.
So, yeah, when you're believing that, say you were believing that, what would happen if you thought, I'm not good with money?
I think you're right. I think subconsciously there would be action, probably small and large, every day to reinforce that belief, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's avoiding looking at spreadsheets, avoiding, the financial tracking and then the financial analysis, like to sit down and actually look at your numbers for your business or even your personal finances. It would probably be again, so if there wasn't awareness, just spending based on what you have now versus like thinking about what's coming in or what's going out, right? If there's no awareness to that, it's probably just making decisions in the moment, financial decisions in the moment, which again, just may once the bill comes, reinforce the belief I'm not good with money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be like a whole series of actions that would probably just reinforce that
Yeah.
belief.
Yeah. And we would probably also show up, like you're saying, like kind of afraid to look at the numbers and
Yes. Yeah,
avoiding it.
avoid it.
And then, like you're saying, maybe not really thinking through, like having a plan for the future or looking at a bigger picture, but just really being in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd probably feel pretty bad about ourselves too. Like, oh, I'm a failure. Because that's kind of what that sentence is saying, right? So it's very like heavy, it's very heavy feeling.
Yeah.
That might lead to all kinds of other emotional impacts in our life, right? And maybe then we stress eat or we stress drink, you know, it leads to all kinds of others. And then maybe we're like yelling at our kids, we're stressed out about money, we're, disengaging from our partners. There's all kinds of other implications that these little tiny thoughts have, these ripple effects.
Yeah.
So then we can erase that. Let's just erase it and pretend it doesn't exist.
I love that visual, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
we
a
can
good
also
word.
put it like in a balloon, a helium balloon, just like shove that thought in there and just like let it go into the sky all the way into outer space and explode so that we're no longer even attached to it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Get rid of
helpful to really like eliminate it.
Uh,
And then we can think like, okay, if that's totally gone, what's there? And maybe we're not feeling, we're just feeling probably free, right? Like you said, like a clean slate or like just like open.
yeah.
If we can't think that thought no longer exists, well, then I'm neither good nor not good with the money,
Yeah.
with the finances. I'm just here in this moment.
Yeah.
So it really creates this expansive feeling, which is really the essence of abundance, right? That's like the origin of creation and abundance is just like, oh, what's possible?
Yeah.
What's here? And then we can start to explore like, okay, well, if I was good with money, right? Or I am good with money, that's who I'm being. I'm being someone who's good with money.
Mhm.
And I'm believing that to be true. What are some examples of that in my life? That I'm already someone who's good with money.
Yes. I
What would
do.
be an example for you? I'll come up with.
So I think if we were like living in the moment, right, and making that decision on if we wanted to invest in something or not, at least it would maybe be like awareness of, well, how much is in the account? Do I want this now? Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm going to choose to do it after my next pay period or after the next check comes in, right? So do I want it now or do I want to wait? Even if it is just in the moment, that would be a great decision.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you could say, well, I actually stop and pause and question whether I'm going
Yeah.
to buy something. I
Yeah.
did that last week.
Yeah.
You are being good with money. You are
Yeah.
someone who's good with money.
Yeah.
I pay off my credit card. Oh, or I'm making payments, each month to pay down debt. So I
Yep.
am good with money.
Yeah.
It could be, I think about if I want to buy new clothes, I actually pause and think about, do I need this?
Mhm.
I did that yesterday when I was, on some website. So you think of real examples that show you, actually, I am good with money.
Even just what you said earlier too, Harmony, like I'm in a home with lights,
Yeah,
electricity, food.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So I have
Like,
to be kind of good with money.
right? The stuff we probably just look past every day and take for granted. Yeah. Another one that's coming up too, just thinking about my powerhouse clients. Thinking about like I know how to create money.
Yeah.
I have clients. I have
Yeah.
patience. I know how to create money. I don't know that we all give ourselves credit for that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. So just looking at the opposite
Yeah.
and seeing all the ways in our life that we're already good and then feeling into our body like, how does that feel?
Yeah.
And how am I encouraged to show up when
Yeah.
that's my reality?
So good. That is so
Yeah.
good. That's
And
so
it's
good.
such a little shift. And what I think is really also very important is then like how I like to work with clients is then doing some somatic practice. And it could be movement, it could be breath work, it could be like spinal energetics, which works with the nervous system, just with the intention of repatterning that. So either letting go of the old belief and really embodying the new belief, or whatever intention you want to set, but doing something that's repatterning that nervous system, because once you feel that in your body like, oh, actually all these other things are true,
Yeah.
then somatically integrating it, you can like just twist, you can dance, you can breathe, either doing pranayama like alternate nostril breathing or like a fast breath like Wim Hof style or holotropic breathing. You could have a somatic practitioner help move it through your body just so that it's really integrating into your nervous system.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if we are able to get ourselves to that blank slate space? We're like, okay, I'm with you, Harmony. I did it. Like I identified maybe some of the stuff that was holding me back or some of the blocks. I can visualize the clean slate or the balloon release, right? And I can get myself to that neutral space and maybe find some evidence that supports that neutral space. I mean, a lot of the women I'm working with, they're go-getters. They do have like aspirational goals tied to their business. And oftentimes we do have financial goals tied to that too, right? Like we want to generate more revenue or more income. in our business. Let's say we find ourselves in this neutral space, we still feel ourselves desiring more,
Yeah.
right? More success, or we want to step into abundance.
Yeah.
So if that's the place we want to go next,
Mhm.
how do we get there? If we're like, some of
Yeah.
these beliefs don't feel aligned with where I am now, like, what's your advice to get somebody into that next level?
Okay. Do you want to play? You want to play with
Yeah,
me?
let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So if you close your eyes and
Yeah.
just even for yourself, what is your next level look like or feel like? What's the goal? What more do you want?
So for me, it would be 200K.
Yeah.
It would be 20 one-on-one clients and then open group. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So when you're there, just feeling in your body, you're there. Okay, you got $200,000 annual income coming in. You have your 21 clients. It's amazing. You love them. You have your group. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that give you? What are you experiencing?
That feels powerful.
Hmm.
I just feel like almost like electric, like really exciting. That feels energizing. That feels really motivational, like a strong source of energy. Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, so just close your eyes and just
Okay.
feel into that strong source of energy in your body now. You could do, a little breathing to increase that power. Just take some nice deep breaths. Can you feel that powerful, motivating, electric energy in your body now?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it's already here.
Yeah.
So if it's already here, what does that allow for you to do?
Okay. So what's coming to me? So I don't want to lose anybody because I know you and I kind of talk coach speak, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody is a coach on the call as well. But where my mind goes is, so if I can feel the feeling, if I can tap into that energy,
Yeah.
then I know I can create that in my body and I know I can take action from that space,
Yeah.
right? For me, then it is about finding the beliefs so that the energy doesn't feel fleeting. It's finding like the beliefs or the thoughts to generate the feeling inside my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or going back into that space regularly because the thing that you want by creating that annual income, by creating those clients is already here. You can already experience that thing. So it doesn't mean you can't go for your goal. It doesn't mean that you don't need those things. I mean, it does mean that you don't need those things. But it doesn't mean that you don't need to want those things. You can still want those things and you can still go for them. But now emotionally, what does having those things do for you?
It creates that sense of electricity. That's what it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
But
here.
you don't need to have a 200K year in order to have that feeling because you can have it anytime you want, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So then it gets me thinking, okay, so if I want to take action from that energy,
Mhm.
I just need to establish a practice,
Yeah.
right? To bring that energy here so I
Yeah.
can show up and act when I'm in it.
Totally. So
Yeah.
that's what I would really suggest is like getting into that embodied state because the fear comes because we think when I get this, it will mean this. When I get to this place, then I'll be complete or then I'll be fulfilled or then I'll be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we're putting it out in front of us.
Yes.
The problem most of us have, especially if you're a high achiever, which it sounds like, your group
Yes.
is,
1,000,000% yes.
yeah, is that we get there, we just move the goalposts again.
1,000,000%.
So we're never actually arriving.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the whole trick, the whole key actually that the embodiment practices will do, the somatic practices, and really like feeling into like what is the desire underneath the external goal that we're seeing in front of us is to have an internal feeling. Well, then I'll feel at peace,
Mm,
or then I'll feel free, then I'll
yeah.
feel powerful, then I'll just feel like, yeah, so like electrified, right? But if we go in and just be with it, we can actually feel that now. We don't need that thing to have the deeper desire.
Yeah. Okay.
And now that thing is just a thing. It's just something. It's not, it doesn't mean anything about us because everything we need, we actually already have.
Mm.
And so if you're already able to be powerful, how much more fun is it to create clients?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much easier is it to have $200,000 years? So easy because you're already powerful. Of course you can do that, right?
Okay. So this essentially is, right, like some of the theory and principles behind manifestation, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. It is for sure.
Okay.
The fact that you have to be or experience that feeling already within yourself, and then you attract, or, it's kind of based on the scientific law that everything's interconnected,
Mhm.
right? And that the thing that you're putting outside of yourself, you're actually already connected to. But when we raise our frequency or we start to really embody the same level of being that we think we need to be or that we know we want to be, when we get to that place, when we start to embody it now, that place is already going to be coming towards us or is already connected to us.
Wow.
It's just
Okay.
about energy and frequency, which is really what money is.
Yeah.
Money's just energy and currency. And what's currency? It's moving, right? Like the current. So it's flowing. And so when we enter into that space of energy or prana in yoga, right? Or chi in Chinese philosophy, you are able to then connect more deeply,
Wow.
more directly, even with the things that you want. But also know that those things don't enhance you in any way because you're already full and complete. And so the source of energy isn't outside of you, it's actually inside of you.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And then it's just fun. Then it's just a game, right?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter if you have $200,000 month. I mean, it's wonderful. It's great. If you have $1,000,000 month, it's great. But it doesn't change anything about you.
Yeah. Because you have the means to be able to generate that same feeling or that same energy
Yeah.
as you are.
Yeah, and to hold it. And that's actually one of the kind of like unconscious ways we sabotage ourselves is we both have upper limits and lower limits.
Mhm.
And so if we haven't met ourselves in that wholeness, right? If we don't know, actually, I'm already powerful, then often what happens is we feel only this powerful, like 50% powerful compared to 100% powerful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we go for our goal, and yeah, we make $200,000 year, say. But if we're only still feeling 50% powerful, well, we're going to spend $100,000 as an example, right? Because we're not able to hold that amount,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
And we're making it mean something about ourselves.
Mhm.
So it's like we have to kind of do the end result first and
Yeah.
find the end result first. And then you're like, oh, well, of course, it's easy to hold that amount. It's easy to hold more.
Yeah.
I can also hold less. It means nothing about my inner experience.
Okay. Okay. All right. So if this is new to people, right?
Yeah.
If these concepts are new to people, if we are now understanding maybe some of the mechanics behind the abundance mindset or maybe things that we've
Yeah.
heard about and it's becoming a little bit more clear to us, what do you suggest we do in order to like strengthen our capability, in order to like feel this abundant energy, in order to expand our capacity, like you're talking about? If we want to start to make progress here and we want to start to build not only this awareness, but also these muscles, what do you recommend we do? What do we do after today to start to really like, develop a practice around this?
Yeah, I love this question, and I think it's really important that we have energetic bookends in a way. So that we're really creating consistency in allowing our nervous system to regulate at a new frequency. I mean, and to put that into just like everyday person speak and not like woo woo energetic financial abundance coach speak, you know, basically getting used to a new way of being,
Yeah.
right? So if we only feel safe at 50%, how can we regulate our nervous system at 75% or 100% to feel actually, even though it's out of my comfort zone or it's unknown, to feel this good? It's safe and I'm okay, right? So having a practice where we're regularly regulating our
Yeah.
nervous system
Yeah.
to hold more capacity
Yeah.
for stepping out of what's normal or out of our comfort zone. So in the morning, if you spend 5-10 minutes either in visualization, in meditation, or in breath work, I think those are the strongest ones
Okay.
for increasing sort of your energetic field and your capacity to hold your presence, to hold that energy.
Yeah.
You could also do some, personally, I like the pranayama practice in the morning, so maybe even some alternate nostril breathing because that taps directly into your nervous system, right?
Okay.
Working with the breath. It rewires your autonomic nervous system and allows your lung capacity to expand over time. So really lengthening your exhalation starts to regulate your vagus nerve. It increases heart rate variability. It does all kinds of things. So while you're kind of having this visualization, a moment of meditation, then just doing a little pranayama where you're lengthening your exhale. So you could just inhale for maybe a count of 4 or 5, and then exhale for a count of 8 or 10. If you're feeling comfortable with that, you could hold a little bit at the top for either a count of 2, 4, or 8, and then exhale, because that's going to help to just increase in your capacity and regulate your nervous system. And if you can do that while you're holding this feeling of embodiment, of fullness or power or seeing yourself, making the money you want or with the clients you want, and just really like being with that vision and then regulating your nervous system while you're holding that capacity and that vision in the morning, and you do it daily. Oh my God, so powerful. So that would be one thing. You could also do that and you could, do like a little dance party. You could do the dance party after too.
I love
But
that.
something to like move your body and just like integrate it into your body, so that we're not just like holding ourselves, but like we're letting it move and flow because it's about feeling good. Abundance is about feeling good. Expansion is about feeling good, right? So letting ourselves feel good while we're stepping into expansion is really, really helpful. And then at the end of the day, and this could be like as you're finishing work, it could be, while you're waiting for your kids at their activities. I have a son, so I know all about it.
Yes. Mom
Uh,
life. Yeah.
it could be before you go to bed, any time sort of in the evening after you've finished your day. I like to give this as a little homework assignment to my coaching clients, and it works really, really well for especially if you tend to have a lot of fears or anxiety around different things in life,
Yeah.
or maybe really lacking that self-worth or feeling good enough, or like I'm worthy of receiving. You could make it themed. You could make it about receiving, opening up to receiving if that's difficult for you, or you could just make it in general. And that's finding 10 things to celebrate
Mm.
about your day.
Yeah.
And if you do that every day, it really, again, it's just like opening up and to see, like you were saying,
Yes.
seeing abundance all around you all the time, right? And celebrating it. Like, oh, I did a great job, getting to my meeting on time today. It doesn't have to be big things, and I think that's the thing is I've had clients say, but isn't that just normal? Isn't that just being normal? And I'm like, yeah, maybe for you, but not for everyone. And recognizing that it's something worth acknowledging
So true.
is
Yes.
really helpful because we always tend to see the ways that we're falling short and not the ways that we're showing up. And so just
Amen. Yes,
Yeah.
1,000,000%. Okay, so for all my high achievers listening, we always start our calls with the 3 wins. I want you to take Harmony's challenge here. Think about like 10 things you are grateful for, right? 10 things where you are feeling abundant in your
Yeah,
life
like wins,
every
like
day.
celebrate
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. That is so good. Okay. So if there are questions, I'm gonna give everybody who's watching live the chance to think about them, drop them in the chat, or raise your hand if you have any. And I want to ask you, while people are thinking too, I want to ask you, Harmony, if there's anything that we didn't yet touch on today that you want to make sure you leave our female founders and female entrepreneurs with as they are thinking about money mindset going forward.
I think like just shifting our mindset from seeing money as something that we have to earn or
Yeah.
something that we have to deserve to recognizing it actually as an energy that we're able to channel, that we're able to attract, that we're able to give, and that it's like a flow and a current that we're giving and receiving. And that's part of being in the flow of it, and that it's
Yeah.
part of our energy system. And so when you're doing things that are good for yourself, like, working out or running on your treadmill or taking a walk, walking the dogs, connecting with nature, doing your yoga, swimming, whatever it is that you love to do that makes you feel good, that gives you energy, that is an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
That increases your capacity to receive. And I think we sometimes get in that pattern of overworking, overdriving, and feeling like if I just work harder, I'm going to earn more. And if I just, show up more and like sacrifice myself more, I'm going to make more money. But it's
Yes.
actually kind of the opposite.
Yes, yes, that is so good. That is so good. And I think not only like tapping into the energy, like you're saying, and that creating that feeling that you're after in the first place is super powerful. Everything's already within you. And then also being able to just notice all of the evidence for that, right? What you're striving for. Notice all of that evidence around you. Notice the abundance around you. I think those two things can unlock so much harmony. So, one thing that I have also heard people ask about in the past that I want to ask you while we have you is the idea of like money mantras.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes people have asked like if you do you have any money mantras? Do you use them or are there any powerful thoughts that you have in your practice that you think could help others as well as we practice stepping into more abundance?
Yeah, I mean, I do like money mantras. I think they can be helpful for rewiring your mind and your nervous system too. I always like money flows to me with ease.
Mhm.
That's one of the ones my go-tos. I also like abundance comes by taking many small right steps.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh, I like that. Yes, that's
Um,
really good.
yeah, and some I've used before. I haven't. This one doesn't totally resonate with me, but I know it resonates with some people. It's like I'm a money magnet. I always get what I want.
Mm,
But I think it's like coming up with something like that really resonates with you, that feels like yeah, there's something about that feels expansive for me. That
yeah,
feels like that's going to be something I can say to myself, you know. I used to just be like many small right steps, many small right steps, many small right steps. Because it's like it's little and it's incremental and you're just like, it's okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It doesn't have to be giant. It's like many small right steps are gonna get you there. That's
yeah.
it.
Oh, I
So
love
finding the thing that like really clicks for you, I think is important. Not just saying the mantra that, you know, there has to be like something of truth in it for you.
yeah,
Yeah. Otherwise it doesn't work.
right. You
Like
know,
I could walk around all day long saying like I'm a millionaire. My husband, he always like, starts to count. He's like, well, if you count like all the assets, and I'm like, no, I want to like, if I'm going to say I'm a millionaire, I want multi-millions of dollars, you
love it.
know?
Yeah,
So
but small right steps, right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
reality. Yeah.
So, but for him, he says all the time, I'm a millionaire. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it resonates for him and it's great. So do the one that works for you, I think is the one that, because that's going to be what kind of dials in your energy and helps you the most.
So good.
Yeah.
So, Harmony, tell us if anybody wants to get closer to you, if they want to learn more about working with you, or they want to connect in your world, what are the best ways for people to get in touch with you after today?
Yeah, sure. So probably you can listen to my podcast. It's called Finding Harmony. You can find it on all the platforms. I have a free portion of my community that you're welcome to join. It's called the Finding Harmony Community, and it's community-harmonyslater.com. But if you just head to my website, which is harmonyslater.com, you can find all the links there. And you can reach out to me on Instagram if you can't find any links or you just want to know more about what I'm up to. And that's at Harmony Slater Official. And yeah, I have a great quiz that maybe people will be interested in. It's a free quiz on my website, and it's all about finding your spiritual entrepreneur archetype. And you get a little free branding kit for your archetype. So if you're interested in that, I worked with it in conjunction with my web designer. So we created these little branding kits, and you get a little insight into your personality type. It's actually based on the Enneagram and the centers of the heart and the body, and then also the full inclusive balanced package. So it's a fun little quiz if people want to take it. They can find it right on my website.
I love that. Okay. I will make sure too that you all have links. Thank you so much, Harmony. This was a very, very powerful session.
Good.
I felt shifts in part because I got to be the guinea pig today. But I hope that everybody listening did as well. And I encourage you to reach out to Harmony if you want to work through any of these money mindset topics yourself. She is a wonderful resource to be able to do that. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and your talents with us today, Harmony. So appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. It was great to connect with you, Danielle.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Whew. Wow, that was a lot. Okay, take a deep breath, let that land. And I just want you to tune in to your own frequency, just breathing deeply and just noticing how you're feeling right now. And recognizing that you don't have to wait to feel good in order to have what you want to have, that you can actually embody all of the things that you think money's going to bring you at some point in the future. You can embody that right here, right now. We need to stop outsourcing our happiness or our joy or our contentment or our fulfillment and start insourcing it. Really, really recognizing that it's all here for you, that you are the source of all of this, and that it's not in the stars waiting for them to line up, but it's being present here in yourself and doing the work. And it starts now in your energy, in your body, in your being. So I hope this conversation sparks something inside of you, a little insight, and I'd love for you to share it with me over on Instagram or in the comments. We're also on Substack. And if you feel like you're ready to shift from maybe just strategy or simply hoping and praying or throwing spaghetti at the wall and shift into something that's a bit more about energetic mastery, then I would love to invite you in to work with me at a deeper level. I have this beautiful 21-day challenge that I'm so excited about. It's called the Money Magic and Manifestation Challenge. It's 21 days, and it's a transformative journey where we will recalibrate your relationship to wealth. We're going to do a lot of this deeper work around self-worth and what you made money mean, what you learned from your parents, and creating a deeper energetic alignment for you. You're going to receive daily practices, journal prompts, some rituals, breath work, meditations, visualizations, all of these beautiful transmissions to just anchor abundance into your nervous system at a deep, deep level. And you can start today. So head on over to the link in the show notes, look for the 21-day Money Magic and Manifestation Challenge and let yourself really, really absorb the frequency of prana, of wealth, of abundance. Let yourself shift out of scarcity into this new way of being. Not just a new way of being when it comes to your bank account, but an entirely new embodiment within yourself so that you are feeling abundant, you are feeling worthy. So important. It's not really about the numbers in your bank account. It's about how you're feeling about yourself every single day. So if you love this episode, send it to someone you care about. Post on Instagram. Please tag me with your takeaways. I really, really would love to hear what landed for you most. And if you want to join me in my Lightworker Mastermind, you can always reach out for a coaching session and we can see if that's something that would really serve you. Okay? So you can hop on over to those links and I'm happy to see if there's some way that would serve you for us to work together so that you can really shift into this new dimension and stay in your power, up-level your frequency. And please remember that you're not here to chase. You don't need to go around chasing money or chasing clients or chasing that next best thing. You are here to be a signal, to transmit, to embody, and to be the light in the world. Okay? So I love you. Thank you for listening, and I cannot wait to connect with you again soon. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.